up guys, EJ here, back with another video, and today it's going to be my weekly movie review roundup, episodes 26 and 27, because it really covers the last couple of weeks that I've been watching movies. So yeah, 7 films to talk about over that time period. Starting off with a couple Tuesdays ago on May 24th, I watched the Christmas horror film Krampus, co-written and directed by Michael Dougherty. Yeah, really fun film. From the opening montage of people fighting over toys in a department store, I knew I was going to be in for a treat. This film had a great feel to it. I won't say it sort of felt like an 80s film, but certainly like a early 90s Christmas film. The horror elements were great, and it was just loads of fun. The characters, the dialogue, lots of funny moments. Kind of reminded me of Gremlins a little bit. But yeah, Adam Scott and Toni Collette play a married couple. They have 2 kids, a teenage daughter, the typical teenage daughter who's buried in her iPhone, etc. And they have a younger son who still believes in Christmas, still believes in the spirit of Christmas, believes in Santa Claus, and he's getting ready to write his letter to the North Pole, to Santa, to ask what he wants for Christmas. And his parents are sort of on the outs, as it is. They are joined by David Koechner and his family. I think David Koechner plays Adam Scott's brother. He's sort of a white trash guy. He shows up with his wife and their kids, these brats of kids. Yeah, a couple like tomboyish girls that he has who are like a pain in the ass and make fun of the young kid, the young boy. Conchetta Ferrell, fantastic as the foul-mouthed aunt. Really great scenes with her. She has all the great lines of dialogue in the movie. And I don't really want to go too much into the plot, but it's sort of on the eve of Christmas. They get snowed in by a big winter blizzard, and certain things happen. And then, of course, you have the old, sort of creepy German grandmother who tells the story of Krampus, the sort of Christmas demon. The anti-Santa Claus. Yeah, just loads of fun, this film. I really enjoyed it. I wish I'd seen it when it came out in December, but I'm glad I did get to see it, because now it'll definitely become a yearly habit of watching this over the holidays. I don't own that many Christmas horror films. I know there's big fans of that type of subgenre. I think Black Christmas is the only one I actually do have, the original one. But yeah, really loads of fun, great practical effects, barely any CGI, if any. Just a cool looking monster, and just really a great surprise. I really loved this film. I thought it was fantastic. So really enjoyed Krampus. Check it out if you love Christmas and horror movies, and who doesn't? So yeah, Krampus, I gave a 8 out of 10. Alright guys, moving on to Thursday, May 26th. I watched Ride Along 2, because yeah, let's face it, the first Ride Along was such a great movie. We really needed a sequel. God, I hated the first one. This one was slightly better, but still not very good. Of course, Ice Cube and Kevin Hart re-team again. Ice Cube plays a Atlanta detective, and Kevin Hart plays a sort of probationary rookie cop who's about to get married to Ice Cube's sister. But they're working on a drug case, and they find this link to a computer hacker in Miami, and the computer hacker is played by Ken Jeong, who works for a drug dealer slash politician slash man about town, played by Benjamin Bratt. So of course Ice Cube and Kevin Hart go down to Miami to talk to this hacker, this informant, Ken Jeong, and then of course they have to bring down Benjamin Bratt. Yeah, like I said, not very good. Sort of lazy buddy cop movie. The only reason I liked it a little bit more is because Olivia Munn is in it, and she's not too shabby to look at. She plays a local Miami detective working on the case as well, from that end. So she teams up with the two of them, and they drag Ken Jeong around all over Miami. So he has a couple of funny moments, but yeah, I like Ice Cube, and Kevin Hart I'm just really not a fan of in general. Didn't like his comedy when I watched his stand-up, and now he's in like every other movie, so Ride Along 2, a little bit better than the first one, but that's not saying much because I hated the first one. Ride Along 2 I gave a 5 out of 10. Alright, moving on to Friday, May 27th. I watched Jane Got a Gun, directed by Gavin O'Connor, starring Natalie Portman, Ewan McGregor, and Joel Edgerton. Natalie Portman plays a frontierswoman living on a ranch out in the New Mexico territory. About, I want to say, sometime a few years after the Civil War. She's married to an outlaw played by Noah Emmerich. He's part of this gang called the let me get the name right. The Bishop Boys, the Bishop Gang, that's led by John Bishop, played by Ewan McGregor. So one day she's out on her ranch, and her husband comes home. He's been shot up. He sort of went against the gang because of a whole bunch of stuff that happened in the past, and then he tells her that the rest of the Bishop gang is coming for him. They're gunning for him. So Natalie Portman goes back to her old fiance, an old gunslinger played by Joel Edgerton, to help her out and defend this little ranch on the edge of the desert. Yeah, sort of a interesting little western. I love Natalie Portman, always have. She's one of my favorite actresses. It's not a great western, not a great movie, but it has its moments. Ewan McGregor is very good as the bad guy, almost unrecognizable, to be honest, at first. Yeah, Joel Edgerton's good. Noah Emmerich is good. Yeah, I dug it. Yeah, the ending, the final shootout, the showdown towards the end gets good. There's some good stuff there. Yeah, good little western. Not a great film, but I liked it. So Jane Got a Gun, I gave a 7 out of 10. Alright guys, moving on to this most recent week. On Tuesday, May 31st, I watched Risen, directed by Kevin Reynolds, who I'm a big fan of. He's a very accomplished director. Has made some really great films that I'm a huge fan of. This film, of course, stars Joseph Fiennes and Tom Felton. Tom Felton, who played Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter films. Yeah, this movie takes place in 33 AD. The film starts off with the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Basically, this film starts off where the Passion of the Christ ends, so to speak. Joseph Fiennes plays Tribune, a Roman officer in the 10th Legion, who are sort of overseeing the region of Judea, where this self-proclaimed Messiah, Jesus Christ, and his followers have, of course, been teaching the ways of God and all that. And then, of course, the Romans put him to death, along with two other thieves. And then before his crucifixion, he proclaims to his disciples that he's gonna rise from the dead in 3 days, which, of course, according to the Bible and legend, he does, of course. Yeah, so basically Joseph Fiennes' character Tribune, along with Tom Felton, who's also part of the Roman 10th Legion, is there to make sure that this doesn't happen. They put guards the grave, the tomb, where Jesus's body gets buried, and of course, 3 days go by, and the body of Jesus Christ is nowhere to be seen. So this basically starts off a huge manhunt. Joseph Fiennes basically goes around questioning everybody who's associated with this man, the Nazarene, as he's called throughout the movie. They never mention the name Jesus Christ. They refer to him as Jeshua or Jesua, something like that. Sort of the Hebrew name that he went by and his disciples called him. So yeah, it's sort of a police procedural type of film, set in this religious backdrop of you've got Jewish clerics who sort of made the whole thing happen in the first place, and the Romans who carried it out. So yeah, Joseph Fiennes he's there interviewing, interrogating people like Mary Magdalene, and he's charged with finding the 12 disciples, because that's really how he's gonna find out what the hell happened to this body. They even bring in like fake bodies. There's some rough scenes in this movie. It's not pretty to look at. Of course, the crucifixion itself, and the way they describe it in one scene, they're sort of intimidating some guy, and he like tells him what happens with these big friggin' sharp, rusty nails that get driven into your hands and feet, and how the pressure on the body basically makes you can't breathe anymore. But Jesus Christ died rather quickly, according to this movie, while he was on the cross, sort of giving up and saying that he wanted to die, like sacrificing for all our sins, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's an okay film. I didn't love it. The second half of the movie, like, Joseph Fiennes sort of witnesses these miracles, and he sees the vision of Jesus Christ come back to life. I mean, he doesn't just like disappear. He actually comes back and joins the disciples, and they're having dinner, and they go off on a long pilgrimage to I think the Sea of Galilee and stuff like that. It's an okay film. I've said before in many reviews recently, I'm not really religious, but I've read the Bible and I took scripture in class, so I'm very familiar with the subject matter. So yeah, it's an okay film. I love it. Tom Felton is okay as well. So Risen, I gave a 6 out of 10. Alright, moving on to June 1st. On Wednesday, I watched Joy, the latest collaboration between director David O. Russell and Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro, Bradley Cooper. Of course, Jennifer Lawrence plays the title character named Joy. She's this woman living in, I want to say Chicago, but that doesn't seem right. Somewhere in the Midwest. She's living with her crazy family. She's living with her ex-husband, Tony, played by Edgar Ramirez. Robert De Niro plays her father. Virginia Madsen plays her bedridden mother. Diane Ladd plays her grandmother, and they all live in this tiny house. Meanwhile, Joy is working sort of dead-end jobs. She's like a stewardess at one point. One day while she's out on the boat, she's like swabbing the deck and trying to wring out the mop, but her hands get all dirty and cut up from the way the mop is, the way the mops are back then, before of course she invents this new mop, this self-wringing mop, which she comes up with. So she basically goes to her father's business. Robert De Niro owns like a car repair shop, a chop shop if you like, and she hooks up with her sister-in-law, and Isabella Rossellini plays Robert De Niro's rich girlfriend. So they all get involved. They sort of fund this little business for Joy to create this brand new mop, this great self-wringing mop with like 300 feet of continuous cotton loops or whatever that you can detach from the handle and put in the washing machine and wash it. Revolutionary mop that revolutionizes cleaning. So yeah, as I was saying, Joy enlists the help of her crazy relatives who give her the money to help launch this business. But then of course she wants into all sorts of legal and financial trouble, having to borrow more money from Isabella Rossellini. She's getting screwed over by the people who make the parts for the actual mop itself. And the people who own the patent. Yeah, eventually, of course, she winds up with Bradley Cooper's character, who is a producer for QVC, the shopping channel that Joan Rivers made famous in the 90s. Yeah, there's even a actress playing a younger version of Joan Rivers at one point. So yeah, Joy goes down there herself to sell her product on TV. She and it become a huge success, but that sort of lands her in more financial and legal trouble. Yeah, good film. Very good performances by Jennifer Lawrence and Robert De Niro. Bradley Cooper, Virginia Madsen I liked a lot. She was really good as the bedridden mother. She has some funny moments. Not as good as David O. Russell's past couple films with the same cast of actors. I liked Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle a lot more than this movie, but still a very good movie. Joy, I gave a 7 out of 10. Alright, moving on to June 2nd. On Thursday night, I watched Gods of Egypt, directed by visionary director Alex Proyas, who I had no idea directed this movie going into it, but I'm a huge fan of his work, especially The Crow, Dark City, even I, Robot, all great films. The first couple of masterpieces in my opinion. But this film, of course, sort of so bad it's good. I wouldn't even say that. It's sort of kind of bad that it's just bad. But I still enjoyed it. Yeah, set in ancient Egypt where gods and humans lived together. The ancient Egyptians ruled by the gods before the pharaohs came along. Osiris is the king, and he's about to pass on his legacy, the kingship, to his son Horus, the god of air, played by Nikolai Walder Kostow. Is that his name? Yeah, the guy who plays Jamie Lannister on Game of Thrones. But during the ceremony, it gets hijacked by his uncle, Osiris's brother Set, played by Gerard Butler, who's sort of been out in the desert, and he's pissed off, man. He shows up to this ceremony, wreaks all kind of havoc, and steals something from Horus, which is very valuable, which I won't say what, because that sort of launches the movie, where we also meet Beck, played by Brenton Thwaites. He's sort of this human character, this young fellow who's sort of a thief. He's got this beautiful girl he's about to marry, who's but unfortunately, when when Set takes over the Egypt, he plunges the whole kingdom into despair after many years of prosperity under Osiris and the previous gods that ruled Egypt. So yeah, Gerard Butler just killing all the gods that get in his way, that stand in his way. All the humans are sent into slavery, including Beck's girl, who's a slave under Rufus Sewell's household. Rufus Sewell, always a great baddie, always plays baddies in these type of movies. He's like the Egyptian master builder. He builds this monstrosity, this obelisk, to appease the great sun god Ra, played by Jeffrey Rush, in a sort of hilarious appearance. At one point we go up to space, where we meet the sun god Ra, Jeffrey Rush, who's up in space on a boat fighting off some super demon that is going to swallow all of creation. That's how ridiculous this movie is, just to give you a clue. So, yeah, eventually Beck and Horace have to team up to sort of bring back Horace's power, because he loses his power. Oh, that's another thing. They transform from their human selves, these gods, into sort of metal fighting warriors, which and sort of the sort of typical image of that we know of Egyptian gods. Those kind of images are what they turn into when they're not in human form, and they battle like that. Of course, you've got Anubis, the god of the underworld. There's some cool stuff with the underworld and the afterlife. There's a whole bunch of shit with that. I want to know, try and find out the name of the Isis. Yeah, Isis, the goddess of love, played by Rachel Blake. Yeah, she's in the movie as well. I didn't find her that memorable. But yeah, you've got all the good gods fighting it out. Basically, Gerard Butler raising Egypt to the ground, and Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones fighting back. Also, I think Charles Dance from Game of Thrones fame as well. Or actually, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, because the next movie I talk about has a bunch of Game of Thrones people in it as well. So yeah, Gods of Egypt, kind of a mess, but sort of a fun mess. Visually, it's got some really great stuff in it. I mean, at one point there's these women assassins riding on massive vipers over a big temple and shit, trying to kill Horus. So there's some cool stuff in Gods of Egypt, but it's a ridiculous movie. The acting is kind of bad, and as somebody pointed out on Facebook, it's the white people who rule Egypt, because all these actors are all white. And it's kind of odd looking. So yeah, as I was saying, the dialogue and the performances and the cast of characters in Gods of Egypt is kind of ridiculous. The whole movie is ridiculous, but I kind of enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, although very stupid. So Gods of Egypt, I gave a 6 out of 10. Alright, moving on to finally, on Friday night, what the hell day is it? May 3rd, I watched Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Yeah, directed by Burr Steers, who wrote the screenplay as well. Of course, the mashup of Jane Austen's classic novel and Seth Grahame-Smith. Yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was quite a load of fun. Like I said, Charles Dance is actually in this movie. He plays the father, Mr. Bennet, who's trying to wed off his 5 daughters in 19th century England, because women basically had to marry into wealth to survive, because they weren't going to inherit their father's fortunes. The classic story of Pride and Prejudice is still intact in this movie. Lily James plays Elizabeth Bennet, the heroine, of course, and Sam Riley plays Mr. Darcy. Of course, they have a very combative relationship, which eventually will turn into romance. Really a lot of fun, and of course the whole backdrop is all the while they're fighting off a horde of zombies. They weave the story of the zombies really well into the classic Pride and Prejudice story. Yeah, like the women actually get trained in Japan or China, depending on your wealth. All the 5 Bennett daughters all are trained in martial arts, and yeah, it's just a whole lot of fun. But at the heart of at the movie is still the traditional Jane Austen love story, or non-love story, if you like. The performances are all really good. I liked Jack Houston as well as Wickham. He was good. I'm trying to remember what else I've seen him in, but he was good. Like I said, Charles Dance, always good. I'm quickly becoming a fan of Lily James, that's for sure. She was fantastic as Cinderella in Cinderella from last year, the Kenneth Branagh film, and she was wonderful as Elizabeth Bennet in this movie. Yeah, I thought she was really great. Lots of cool visuals, lots of cool zombie kills. Yeah, just a really interesting take on a classic, some would say stuffy Jane Austen novel. Um, but yeah, if you don't like those type of movies, those period romantic dramas, which we've had over the years, of course, the 2005 film with Keira Knightley, I liked actually. Yeah, this film makes that story very palatable if you like horror movies and zombies. But yeah, Lily James, really becoming a big fan of her. She really shines as Elizabeth Bennet, and Sam Riley was good as Mr. Darcy. Probably my favorite moment in the film is when he initially proposes to her, and then they have this huge fight in this little dressing room, in one of these mansions where most of the film takes place. Yeah, really cool story. Cool sort of setup of how the zombies came to being. There's sort of an animated story that Charles Dance narrates, or Lily James actually narrates at the beginning. But yeah, really cool film, liked it a lot. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, I gave a 7 out of 10. So there you have it, 7 films I've watched over the past couple of weeks. Let me know what you think of these movies if you've seen them. Thank you for watching as always, and until next time, I'll see ya.
Bom.